I absolutely love speedlining jobs. So in this video I'm going to explain to you 3 different uses that we can use speedlines for on different types of jobs. So the first one would be just a simple speedline, sending things over an object like a house or a pond, or just simply moving branches maybe 80, 100 feet to save a lot of labor. Secondly, using a speedline purely to direct branches down away from things just at the base of the tree that could be damaged, but where there's like a big drop zone near the base of the tree. So not really moving them too far, just using that rather than traditional rigging because it makes more efficiency sense. And thirdly, using a controlled slide line system. So that's a speed line but with a controlled rigging line attached, so we can slowly lower pieces down on a slide line and maybe hold them, raise the speed line up to clear something, then send them down. So I'll cover those 3 different methods, and I'll also discuss what equipment we need to do them. So my name's Dan Holiday, this is climbingarborist.com. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get on and look at some footage. So the first thing you're going to need, as you can see here, is you're going to need slings, and you're going to need some kind of carrier to hook the slings onto. Ideally you're going to need 2 carriers. So you can see here I've got like a metal ring. This was like an old ring that I used to use. Now I've got like a bit of a stiff textile stitched into a loop, or I've got 2 of those, just for a little bit of weight saving. I mean, it doesn't save an awful lot of weight, but the reason you need 2 is so that one to have on your harness, and a second for the groundsperson to have to clip the slings to as they come down, and that is the most efficient way to do it, rather than you having to send your ring down every time and then wait for them to click on like 10-12 slings. They can have already have them racked up and ready to go. So for a simple speedline setup, you want quite a lot of slings, maybe 8 to 12 slings, and the reason you want that is so that you can sling up multiple branches at once. Maybe you want to send multiple branches down at once, or maybe you have a bit of downtime waiting for the groundsperson to clear some branches, to sned up some branches, and you've got time to sling more branches up. Efficiency is key in every aspect of tree work, especially when you're doing speed lines. So the more branches that you can have ready to go, the better. Let's carry on. So I've got my slings there, and on this tree, for the first few branches I had to just drop them down into the garden because they were too low to think about clearing the roof. And now I've taken a few of the low ones off. This is still pretty low, but the first thing I'm going to try and do is clear a track through the entire canopy so that I can easily get hold of the speed line, and you'll understand what I mean by that as I play these next few clips. So I'm going to take off a bunch of branches, all at the front of the tree in line with the fall of the speed line. So I'm going to cut like a small little like strip up the entire tree, and that means that me being able to retrieve the speed line is going to be much easier than going out 20 foot on every branch trying to retrieve it again. So you can see there the entire front of the tree has been stripped. There'll be a few other clips that I have also of me stripping out like a V in the front of the tree, but you can see there I've stripped the whole front of the tree, and now I can grab the speed line nice and easy every single time. And because the speed line also like pulls branches towards like the groundsperson, you can get some pull on them and some direction on them, so they're not just going to fall straight down. So even halfway up, if there's a branch below another branch, the pull of the speed line will clear it out, so it's not as important to have it all completely stripped below. So you see here So you see I've stripped this entire front of the tree. Like, I've made a really thin little strip. I mean, it looks like there's a branch here, but this is only one little branch, and I'm above it at the moment, so it's easy for me to grab the speed line that's here. And now as I work my way down, I'm going to select, like, because I've got to go all the way back down to the bottom of the canopy and start from the bottom upwards, I can still start taking side branches off. Like I was saying, because you can get some pull with the speed line, like the groundsman can get some pull with the speed line. You can pull like multiple of these first kind of few branches out. As long as they're not intertwined with the other branches, they'll come away quite easily. So you'll see that as we carry on. So you see the branches going all the way across the house, dragging from around the back all the way around the house. Right, so now I've come all the way back down. Now I've cleared a path for the speed line, and now the speed line has a direct line straight up to its anchor point, making for as straight a speed line as possible, also making for easy retrieval for the climber as well. I'll stop here. So here I'm just looking at the type of rope that we're using. So when you're doing a speed line, the ideal rope you want is the most static rope that you have. So this is a really static rope, and that's because loading a rope in this direction is a lot more force on the rope than like loading it end to end. So you'll get a lot more stretch out of the rope. So the more static a rope you have, the less it's going to stretch and the less it's going to sag. So that's really important if you're doing heavy loads and on like a controlled speed line, where it might like make the speed line stretch quite a lot. So use as static rope as possible. That's one tip that I've got for you. Okay, so on this cut, I'm gonna face it round, and so you can see as I start doing my back cut, the groundsman can start pulling it towards him. So as it's still attached, it's going to come all the way around before it starts to fall with gravity. So the longer you can keep it attached and have it pulled round to ensure the speed line is as straight as possible and as tense as possible, the better. So all these back limbs I'll cut slowly and have them fold around first, have Mark pull them on the speed line, and then finally as it's all the way around the front, then it'll release. And there you can see just like swinging out to grab the speed line, and Mark doesn't even have to come from the front of the house all the way around to the back to flick it to me. I can just swing out and grab it because I've cleared the path all the way up the tree. And just on that clip there, this is a good one to show. You just have to be careful that when you cutting off these branches, if the groundsman's got a lot of tension on the rope and you make this cut down here, it could flick up and like hit you, or hit your hand, hit your saw, hit you in the face, all that kind of stuff. So just be careful and kind of just, if your groundsman or groundsperson is new to using speed lines, you need to tell them if they need to put tension on it or if they can hold it slack, because and try not to be in the line of fire if that branch is going to flick up, because it can catch you off guard and cause some injuries. There's a couple of nice shots just clearing the house. It's a perfect execution of using a speed line and why you would use one, how much energy it saves, that kind of thing. So this is a case of where if there's too much tension on it, the butt end could pop up and hit you. Nicely done. another shot of just the energy that we're saving there. And then obviously you groundspersons gonna keep sending up the slings as you run out. You can see again Mark is pulling it round, and then finally it'll release. So what you'll notice when I'm cutting off these branches is that I'm not doing any side cuts, because actually the more that they hold on, the better. So you know how you would do little side cuts when you're doing a face? Sometimes, especially on a cedar, like the bark can really hold on, and on a speedline job where you're pulling them round from the back to the front, you want them to hold on as long as possible. So sometimes I won't even do like a step cut or a face cut. I'll just cut the branch and let it peel around. And this is another job we did. This is the same technique for using a speedline, which sliding. There's got one fence to clear there. There was another fence below the tree that we were going over, and this is just small older branches, but it's saving us moving through 2 back gardens for some simple older branches. Small, lightweight, not heavy, so not going to damage the fence there, even if like the foliage hits them. So this is just another example of that same technique, and then this is a final example of that same technique. This is a huge 2 Douglas fir trees we were doing some end weight reduction on, and you see we're stood on the top of the house with some glass windows underneath, so we need to rig, and then the driveway slopes downwards, so it's and the trees are about 150 feet tall, so they're huge trees, and you can see there we're just sliding the branches all the way down to the truck. And there we go again, sliding a branch all the way down to the truck, because we need to rig them, but it would be a nightmare to rig them directly down because of the grade of the garden, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so here we go. This is the technique where we just want to avoid the base of the tree. So we just want to avoid, let's rewind that a little bit. So we're just trying to avoid these shrubs here. We want to avoid this shrub here. There's a light here. There might be another light around the back here. There's a wall here, neighbour's wall, neighbour's shrub. So there's lots of things to damage at the base of the tree, but not really anything. So this is a curb that runs all the way along here, and then everything to the bottom of that curb is the road. So we've got our truck parked just off screen to the left. So we can drop it. Let me clear that. We can drop stuff here. This is just a bit of like actual like kind of grassy verge boulevard. So this is a great place that we can slide stuff down. And the reason we decided to slide down is because it's quicker than just traditional rigging. If we traditionally rigged it, we would need somebody on a rigging line. We need to lower it down. We'd need to then handle it when it gets down, unclip the rigging line, send the sling back up, pull the rigging line back up. Whereas because we're speedlining, we can just, like the climber can just sling up multiple branches and we just slide them down, as long as we avoid everything from this point backwards, then we're good. So we just need to pull it towards the camera, and it's a pretty big tree, pretty big Douglas fir tree. So you'll see as we go here. So we're pulling it round using the speed line, which acts as like a 2-to-1 when you want to pull something round from the back to the front. There you go, we're sliding it all the way onto the road, avoiding the garden shrubs, and you can tell it's much quicker than traditionally rigging. Here you go, these are the back limbs. So this is Sam the climber, he's guiding them round and we're pulling them on the speed line. He's letting it hold on. See, that's perfect because it's gone as far around as possible before it releases. And here we are again. So on this one, this is the same, but the only difference is I've got a redirect here. The redirect I'm using is a Petzl Spin L1D, which is like a one-way ratcheting pulley. So I can pull it tight, but the friction gives me makes the load feel a bit lighter when it drops into the rope. So that's a great use for the Petzl Spin L1D, using it as like a redirect because it makes the load feel lighter. Sam is the climber in this video, and he's taking this limb, which is slightly behind the stem. So again, using the speed line, it's creating like a when it's behind the stem that the speed line's anchored to, it's then creating like a 2-to-1 as you pull it round, and then as the line straightens out, it becomes just a simple speed line. So we'll clear that, and then we'll press. See this. So you see it'll kind of face it round, I'll pull it, and then it starts to slide, and then it's just going to land on the grass. And the reason we're doing that is because there was like quite a large chicken hutch at the base. So this is that same tree, and we don't want it to land on the chicken hutch, on the chicken run or the garage. So this time Connor's pulling it round, and we're just landing it there on that open bit of lawn. So that's another simple use for a speed line. Alright, now we'll move on to the final use for speed line for this video, and that is the controlled speed line. So this is a video we made a few years ago now, and you'll see here we're setting up like a controlled speed line, and at the base we set up like a mechanical advantage so we can tension up the speed line. So you can set up a 3-to-1, 5-to-1, depending on how much or how heavy the load's going to be. I'll just stop that there. So you see here we've tied like a back tie. So if you imagine, I don't know if you've ever seen like a logging setup where they use like one huge, I don't know what they call it, like a spar pole to yard logs from. They anchor it down on all different sides using huge heavy cables, and that's to keep that trunk, that spar pole, anchored solid. So that's kind of what we're doing here, because we're going to be rigging and sliding branches down in this direction. So we're going to counteract that by back tying in this direction, because if they're heavy loads, we don't want this tree like being pulled over, because we're going to be cranking it up with a mechanical advantage. So we're using a back tie on this. Okay, so we've got a setup there. We've got using a DMM rigging hub with 2 pulleys. This is just one way of doing this, but we just need something to run smoothly on the slide line, and also connect branches, sometimes multiple branches. So you can see Matt is the climber in this video, and he's connecting up to the DMM hub with the branches. And then you'll see the next thing we do is lock off this is the rigging line. So the rigging line is going to hold the branch in place once it's cut. So now it's being cut, the rigging line's holding it in place, and then we can tension up the speed line. See, then we can raise it so we know it's going to clear the object. That'll be a house or a river or something like that. And then we can lower it down using the rigging line. So here we go again. So sometimes you can rig multiple branches if you've got maybe some smaller branches and you want to be more efficient. So you can see here Matt's going to rig off 3 branches in one go that are all connected to the hub. And now you'll see the speed line is going to get tensioned up by George, who's on the ground, using that mechanical advantage. So you can see that's raising it quite a lot, which is lifting it high enough to clear the house below. And then now the groundsman's releasing the rigging line. So the issue I was saying earlier about when you use a speed line, try and use like a really static line, or the most static line you have. In this video we actually were using a rigging line. So the rigging line, the difference is a rigging line has maybe 20% stretch and a static line has maybe 1.5% stretch. So you can see the difference in, like, this is probably as tight as we could get the rigging line, or like the speed line, sorry, and there's still quite a lot of sag in it because the rope is always going to have that stretch that you can't really tension out of it. Whereas if you were using a static line, it would be much easier to get it tighter. And people have commented on the original video of this slide line and said, oh, why are you even bothering speed lining it over the house? It was purely for a demonstration purpose of this technique. It wasn't a job that we had that we were making harder. It was this was purely for a video demonstration. And this is another example of taking multiple branches, because if you're doing a controlled speed line, then you may as well send multiple branches down at once, as long as you can still clear the object that you're trying to clear. And there you go. So thanks very much for watching, as always. If you want to check out those original videos, there was like the speed line one, which I think was called like Speedlines over a house, or Speedline and drones, or something like that. And then there's the controlled speed line video from, I think, like 2015. So I'll leave those links on the video, and down in the link in the I'll link them in the description below. So thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed that one. Appreciate it, and I hope you learned a lot. So pass on this video to anybody that might find it useful. Share it with your colleagues and your friends, and I'll see you on the next video. See you later. Bye.